Ahoy, fellow body swappers.
And welcome aboard the Joy of Trek, a hijinks-filled podcast exploring the Scorch and space stations of Star Trek, all of it. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
And shooting Una in the shoulder is her chief engineer, Greg.
Together, we're on a mission through the shore leaf of Star Trek to find the ensign in every interrogation room and the excellence in every episode.
Even the silly-hatted doctors, Judgy.
Because every episode must be someone's favorite, and it might as well be us.
So employ some radical empathy and join us as we sail into
The joy of Trek.
Sometimes I wonder about like this format for the opening script, and then the chief pulls a doozy like this, and yes, let's do this forever. It doesn't ever need to be changed. Like, I wrote this once in 5 minutes because, okay, we don't really have an intro. We need a promo thing. I'll just very quickly do this, and then this also sort of became the intro. But I absolutely love it, and I mean,
especially with someone like Una, I think you should approach the Garak.
Approach with caution?
Well, the Garak method of shooting. Like, I certainly wouldn't try it in the front. Like, you know, probably a better shot than I am. Like,
her little Mew.
Ow, that hurt.
Can you guess, listeners at home, what we're doing today?
That's right. It is Spock Amok. Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 5.
First aired on June 2nd, 2022, written by Henry Alonso Myers and Robin Wasserman, and directed by Rachel Leiterman. I just went straight for a German pronunciation. Robin Wasserman, probably.
Wasserman, yeah, that sounds about right. But that's also German, yeah. I mean, if you want to do it in American, it will be Wasserman.
Okay, no, okay. Names are pronounced how they're pronounced by the people who have them.
True.
Right? So there's plenty of examples. I mean, in English, there are especially like egregious examples of older traditional English names that are pronounced nothing like what they look like.
Yes.
Which even for English is saying something.
True. I mean, we have a few of those in the Netherlands. Well, the Dutch is generally very, very good about pronouncing the way it's spelled. There are a few exceptions in city names.
It's a Germanic language. Oh, yes. Okay, no. Those are like shibboleths.
Right. Well, not even shibboleths. It's just like things that fell out of fashion, like OI is just pronounced as an extended O. So you get a town called Oorschot, which is spelled Oierschot.
Yeah.
So if you would pronounce it by Dutch spelling rules, pronunciation rules, which almost always hold up, it would be wrong, but it's just because it's an old name.
Well, like, I use the word shibboleth because that's literally how they were used.
Right.
Like in the biblical story, there's a story of a bunch of... I know, but we're doing the podcast, right?
Sorry.
I believe the story was like there's a bunch of refugees from a particular war crossing a bridge or a passage, and the soldiers guarding that ask everyone to pronounce the place where they're going, shibboleth, and depending on how they pronounce it, now we know which city you're from and whether you get to live or not.
Yes, it's like pronouncing it GIF or GIF.
Yes, oh God. Or route or route, in the case of some of us here, who have very strong opinions on that.
I do. I mean, one is correct and the other one's wrong. It's simple.
There are also regionalisms. Did you know that in North America, a frown is a thing that you do with your mouth instead of your brow?
I had no idea, no.
I learned this because an American was a great friend of mine and a friend of the show, Toledo, expressed his shock that, whoa, there are places, there are people who think that frowning is something you do with your brow.
How do you frown with your mouth?
Turn that frown upside down.
Oh,
right.
Suppose,
so you turn a smile upside down. That's where that song comes from.
Okay. Huh. I never knew.
Right. So even within one language, we have lots of things that mean
fair point
things.
Yes.
I think this is sort of thematically linked to today's episode. Seeing other people's points of view.
Well, we're doing a comedy episode.
Yes.
Which was like an interesting choice after the previous one, which was all about the Gorm horrors, I believe.
Yeah, Enterprise had some... Strange New Worlds had some whiplash.
I mean, that's what you get from doing a more episodic type series.
I know, but you could still... There are still opportunities to sort of guide people more gently rather than going from, we'll do one about the horrors of war and long-term trauma and, like, possibly murder, and then we'll do the musical one.
Well, you have to do something. It's like that way everybody gets something. Otherwise, it's going to turn into Discovery all too quickly.
Which is also...
I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just like saying that they're trying to do a different thing.
Yes, it's true.
So, yes.
So in Spock Amok,
yes,
how would you describe it?
Oh,
to our beloved listeners.
How would describe it? Ooh, let's see. Spock gets to... Oh, Spock is all about the new experiences, while aliens are being conned into the Federation by fake sympathy.
Wow. It's always upsetting just how accurate your very cynical and useless readings are. Chief, could you give the actual synopsis for today's episode for those who can't remember?
It's a comedy of errors when Spock has a personal visit in the middle of Spock and Captain Pike crucial negotiations with an unusual alien species.
Thank you. Although the idea that you could have watched Spock Amok and just not remember is kind of wild.
What do you mean, not remember?
Not remember what it's about.
Oh, right.
Although, there seems to be a tradition starting where every season of Strange New Worlds has a Spock hijinks episode.
Right. Okay,
Season 2 had the dinner party and the various hijinks surrounding that. And Season 3 has something upcoming that I'm still very excited to see.
Apparently, T'Pring is not a fan of hijinks.
As we find
is that a general... I mean, I don't know. Is that a general Vulcan thing? I mean...
Chief, can you play us any clip where the word hijinks has appeared in all of Star Trek, please?
To the best of my knowledge, the only times that hijinks has appeared in Star Trek are 4 times, all in this episode, as follows.
Spock, I do not like hijinks.
In that we are in agreement. But it appears that hijinks are the most logical course of action. This is coming dangerously close to hijinks. Hey, who doesn't love hijinks?
Well...
That will have been informative
yes,
once it makes it through the temporal vortex. Okay. So what did people on the internet and abroad think about Spock Amok?
Most of the commentary about the episode was about just people mentioning things that they recognized as which were nods to other Star Trek things.
Yes.
That was almost like about 80% of the things that were said about it.
Yes. Most notably, Amok Time, the original series where Kunut Khalifi, the ritual combat as an alternative to marriage was mentioned.
What happens if one of them defeats them? Like then the winner is married to the person who called for the ritual combat, or what's the rules? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of like the extra extended version of if anyone objects to this marriage, let him speak now or forever hold their peace. And if someone speaks up, then it's ritual combat, and we get to fight for the bride. Or the groom,
well,
I guess.
it's T'Pring. Like in Amok Time, it's T'Pring who is dissatisfied with Spock. At that point, it's a surprise to begin with that he's engaged. And she calls for Khalifi,
right?
Because she has her eye on someone else and sort of wants to offer the Ston, I think he's called.
Yes.
But also, like, Spock is going through Ponfar.
It's a dangerous time to challenge someone to combat.
It's a necessary time in that case. It's like there are 3 ways out of Ponfar: death, king, and fighting.
Sure, that seems like normal.
I couldn't think of an F word for death.
Ooh,
yeah, no, I already gave it some
faint.
thought.
No,
yeah, you got straight up. It's a brain wrong for Vulcans.
I suppose, yes.
But so,
other than that, Den of Geek says Star Wars Strange New Worlds exposed.
Star Wars
Strange
New Worlds.
Let me retake that. No. I'm
Star Wars Strange New Worlds. I want to know what that looks like.
Den of Geek, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Episode 5 tries its hand at comedy and proves it's as good as being funny as it is at everything else, which is high praise. And another commenter on Reddit, whose name I forgot to write down, says, the height of Pike's hair. It seems to be getting higher and higher.
Okay, well, that person hadn't seen the clip that we've seen from Season 3 where it's even higher.
Well, I mean, they spotted the trend.
Pike's hair is amazing. Pike's peak, as it's known.
Very good. At least it's not a widow's peak.
No, true. Really, were those the only sort of perspectives on on this?
And like I said, a lot of stuff about like what stuff that they recognized, and a lot of stuff about the Enterprise bingo. It was a comedy episode, and comments about that and how people felt about that. But this kind of summarized it, I'd say.
Well, let's see what someone else thought of it, because today's episode was recommended to us by one of our beloved listeners. Always a surprise to us when we scroll down in our script and find out the recommendation that had been pasted in there.
Yes.
And should you, at home, feel like, oh, here's an episode of Star Trek that I happen to love more than anyone else, and for a particular reason, you can send that to us at joyoftrek.com/links, because, like the Federation, and it turns out the Rongovians, we like many voices. Today's episode was recommended by Lauren Rivers, who said,
2 words. Enterprise Bingo. I seriously hope that the writer of this episode got a bonus for that. Casually mentioned in an earlier episode, now we finally find out about this little game played by the junior officers, fully demonstrated by Una and La'an, the ship's resident fun killers. I love when Star Trek has fun with itself, and this episode does such a great job with it in every aspect. From giving Dr. M'Benga a hard time for his awesome hat to the awesome subplot with the Rongovians, this not only makes me laugh, but gives every single member of the cast the chance to shine. I also love this episode for giving us the Scorch, a hull panel on the outside of the ship signed by the crew. It's a great episode all around, and seeing Pike finally figure out what the Rongovians are after is supremely satisfying. While I love every episode of Strange New Worlds, this one just fills me with unbridled joy every time.
Oh
yes, thank you very much for recommending that. It is a fantastic episode.
I'm so glad we got another Strange New World.
Yes.
We, of course, the especially the Rick Berman era of Star Trek is overrepresented numerically with
the body of works. Just yes,
yeah, hundreds in fact.
Oh yes, I mean like 7 seasons or 8 seasons of the original. Sorry, not the original series. The
7 seasons of Next Generation.
Next Generation.
DS9 7, Voyager 7.
Right.
4 for Enterprise. So that's,
that was also Berman era still.
That all ticks along. So each of those are like 150, 100 episodes on average.
All right. So do we have any warp cores to eject?
Actually, I've got just the one. Hit it.
Okay.
I say we eject the warp core!
Hammer.
Hammer?
Yes. Chief Engineer Hammer.
Oh, the one who gets dumped by Chapel?
No, the Enar,
Yes.
white-skinned, antenna clad.
I don't think I saw him in this episode.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Everybody gets stuff to do, except
Right.
Hammer. Like even Uhura, who doesn't really get much to do, but she does get to sit in.
Yes.
And Hammer is just completely absent.
I mean, is that worth a warp core?
I don't know, but I was just thinking about it because
I wouldn't call that an egregious oversight or misrepresentation or other.
No, I think you're right. It's just when Lauren mentioned that every member of the crew got something to do.
Oh, right. Fair point.
And also, we only get Hammer in the first season.
I guess he's expensive makeup, so it's easy to leave him out of an episode when it's like not required.
Oh, whoa! Oh, that would be an off. No, that can't be it, right?
I mean, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know if he's got animatronic antennae like Shran and the other Andorians did in Enterprise.
Oh, very cute. So, all right.
Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with this episode. What am I going to do? They're too sexy. The lines are too funny.
Oh no.
The set design too good.
It's too good. The view from the windows is too good.
Yeah,
it's like the Enterprise on the left and the sun sail ship on the right, and
and looking out the windows, and everybody's costume is way too flattering for their amazing bodies.
And the Pike's green Kirk tunic.
Yeah. He wears. Do you know that was originally the costume designer said that was created to hide his girdle?
Oh,
because he gained some weight between seasons, so they just give him a wrap around there.
That's probably the same reason that.
I don't imagine that's the case for Anson Mount. This is a fit man.
Oh, you mean the original for Kirk?
For William Shatner.
Right,
sorry. Yeah, you're right.
All right, so in that case, we shall start the episode.
Sail into the episode. I was sort of struggle to go. So we warp in. Shall we dive in? Whereas the chief writes a movement verb in every script for us anyway. We open with a whole bunch of talking.
Yeah, well, mostly. No, that's just we open with a previously on Star Trek.
Yeah, I know. It's very talking.
Yes, I mean we didn't get everything up to sync. But when the episode actually starts,
yes,
we have a scene on Vulcan.
Oh,
Spock
it's gorgeous,
is walking across a big bridge off to a place, and I guess it's like a Vulcan wedding ceremony. Because he walks up and hits the gong, and they shake the cymbals. And then, rather than walk up herself, T'Pring goes like, "No,
Spock, your ears."
Yes,
at least the pointy
and he's not
parts.
wearing any pants.
Yes,
which some of us would have really enjoyed if that particular dream had went in that. Because, like, at what point did you sort of clue in this as a dream? Oh, you've already seen
I've
it.
already seen this
no,
one,
of course.
So, yes.
Yeah. Who hasn't seen Strange New World Season 1? And if you haven't, oh my God, this is a great one to start with.
But yes, she goes,
You're human.
T'Pring.
I will not marry a human. I choose Caliphie.
Yeah.
for you. It's not something like you choose for yourself. It's like you choose Caliphie for someone else.
Yes, there's gender roles in Vulcan culture.
I also noticed that there's a bit of an eyebrow contest going on between the various extras on this shot because it's like I wonder if that's like fashion sensitive on Vulcan. I mean, they'll deny it to the grave, of course, but you see that some of these people have like eyebrows which would put a 1954 Coup de Ville's fins to shame.
Wow, deep cut there. That's awfully specific.
I have actually no idea if that's a car that has like those big
Really?
fins on these. I just made that up
Do
on
you
the
even
spot.
know
No.
whether it's a car?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's a car that in the 1954 Coupe de Ville is an actual car.
Okay, well,
But
Chief, how did he do?
Okay, so this was a tough one because the 50s, you expect there to be just a lot of cars with fins like that. Unfortunately, the 54 Coup de Ville is one of the ones that just has like no fin. It has like the tiniest little like bump of fin. But if you want to talk cars with fins, we have the 57 Chevy Bel Air. We have the 59 Buick Electra. I really love the 59 Cadillac Eldorado. Those are some really classic fins. But I think the most iconic one, to me at least, when it comes to 50s cars with fins, I think it has to go to the 59 Chevrolet Impala, where basically like the entire back is a fin. I love this car. It's great.
I think it's also to contrast our Spock, because not only are his ears human, but so are his eyebrows. Those are unshaven as well. And, this idea that they deny it or take it to the grave, I don't think that's completely true. Like, they do have, like, fashion, styles. They do have, like, cultural expressions that they choose for themselves. Of course, steeped in tradition. Like, this is something I always wonder at. Like, we remember the things about Vulcan saying, oh, we're logical, and we as humans have certain expectations of that. But Vulcans always seem to integrate it into these deep and, almost calligraphic traditions. Like, look at Vulcan architecture. Mm-hmm. Like, there's the deep symbolism in everything. Their clothes have words on them.
Sure. But that's a frame that's only really shown up in the new era of Star Trek, really. The whole, I think that's akin to the Vulcans, like, we're not emotionless. We just we don't like showing our emotions, which is something that wasn't really apparent in the old.
I don't think we know enough about the original series to say that. Yeah. Like, there's so many episodes that we haven't seen, and like so many episodes about Spock were about his struggle with emotionlessness. Like, his regular stance of being logical was usually just to flirt with McCoy. Really,
right.
When I try to think about it, and the examples that we've seen of Vulcan culture, we saw Sarek, we saw Konrad Caliphate, like very ritualistic, lots of pageantry and design. And what I was mentioning, like those robes with writing on them, like if a human culture fully embraced logic, right, we'd go completely Spartan, right? Everything should be empty and clean. Nothing has a place. But that's not how Vulcans approach the idea of integrating reason as a guiding philosophy in their lives. And they light candles for everything, for God's sake.
True.
God, they love candles.
I mean, I guess like it's burning up carbon credits on the Enterprise. Like, so there's all these. Like, I can just imagine a chief engineer again, like, oh God, they're burning candles again. He's like sitting there, like in engineering, and so they
O2 level drop.
So, like CO2 warning is like, oh, it's Spock's quarters again. He's on the candles again. Like, turn up the recirculation system, order a few new CO2 scrubber canisters,
and put him on an extra rotation to indeed replace the CO2 scrubbers, because hey, you burn it, you clean it.
Yeah, exactly.
So lots of fire here in this Vulcan, ceremonial place. Yeah, it's been described as like a very hot, climatically challenging environment. They have higher body temperatures. On the other hand, I also remember that Pike at one point says that human starships run a little hotter than the typical Vulcan kitchen. Sort of suggesting that while the environment may be hotter, maybe they architecturally make more efforts to keep the interior of the house cool.
Right. I mean, maybe that's a status thing, like having an AC on in Arizona.
Ooh.
Chief?
Oh, wow.
Oh, sorry. I might have just actually doxed you there. It's like, I'm not sure feel free to cut that out if it's...
Let me just assure you that there are laws in place to protect people from having their power cut off in the summer, so that way their air conditioning doesn't go out, because it is kind of a death sentence to live in Arizona in the summer without AC. It is not a status thing. It is a basic necessity to live here.
The music in this scene is amazing because it's the original series. None of my technology is going to do this because I've got to focus on the text, on the lines that people are saying. Chief, can you play the music on the bongos?
So it happens. Nothing happens because, of course, like
yes, exactly.
Taken out the
so that we can have cleaner dialogue.
But yes, basically, there's a lot of speaking of clean dialogue. There's like the fight erupts between him and himself, and it's just a bit of like trying to talk himself. It's really a self-conflict between Spock, which is clearly being fought out here.
Yeah, because he's presented as human and fighting a fully Vulcan version of himself.
His insecurities, everything.
You are a human, ruled by emotion. No, I'm not human. I'm not.
Spawned 1,000 fanfics and a lot of password-protected Tumblrs with art about, the follow-up of this particular scene.
Oh, well, I mean, like with him with his stomach gashed open and his head halfway chopped up?
No, I was more thinking about sort of the grudge fuck between human and Vulcan Spock. Because, it is Spocktober, by the way.
So it is, yes.
Probably not when this is coming out, but...
No. I think we're on about a month delay at this point.
The temporal vortex, man. It's too confusing for little old me and my dumb little brain. But yes, we're in the middle of Spocktober. I didn't have ears to celebrate with it. I did don a jockstrap because I think Jocktober is like the closest to Spocktober.
Jocktober,
Yeah, right? But panting and sweating, Spock awakes, goes to tidy up his room after checking whether his ears are still in place.
Yes.
In his lovely elongated hexagon of a mirror.
Get a little voiceover from Pike explaining the premise of this episode.
Most venerated space stations in the Federation.
It's Spock
Newly
even.
repaired after the Klingon
You're right.
War.
It's Spock, not Pike, who's doing the voiceover.
Talking about Starbase 1, one of the oldest and most venerated space stations. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah. I thought Starbase 1 was in orbit of Earth, but apparently not.
No, I think it is, actually.
Oh, okay. So why then they bother going through the domes to go, doing their recreation there when you can just go to Earth and recreate on the real thing?
I guess it's like going to Japan to visit Hausu Tenbosu.
Yes. But
Japan's largest theme park, themed after the Netherlands.
I totally would do that if I could just go there by transporter rather than having to sit on a 14-hour flight to get there. Whereas here...
Well, they probably... I mean... Those domes, I wonder what they're tuned for. Because, originally we learned that they were ecological preserves.
Right.
Sent into space when Earth was suffering
by the look of
calamity.
Pacific Northwest.
There are different domes.
Okay, well, the ones we see in this episode,
yeah. So, I guess, if I could have a Pacific Northwest that didn't... Yes, I know. Pacific Northwest that didn't rain and didn't have mosquitoes, or I could go to the actual Pacific Northwest... Guess which one I'd go to.
Well, sure, but they need rain there, and they probably also have mosquitoes there because, if you want to have a good, actually mosquitoes you can do without a thing. Don't they?
Yes, I think that there is.
They don't have an ecological
They're
essential
not keystone
needs.
species,
right? Yes.
Although there are apparently some forms of mosquito that are essential, but most of them we can just kill. Why are we? This is a world of ecological collapse and terrible calamities and awful disinterest in the fate of the complexity of our ecosystem, but there's still mosquitoes. Those aren't the first. Wasps next. I'm sorry. We're focusing on this episode.
Well, without wasps, there wouldn't be dates. I believe figs.
Yeah,
figs,
okay.
That's the one. Yes.
Fine.
I'm not a fan of figs, but some people are.
Really? Fig compote.
I tend to find them a little bit. The seeds a little bit gritty and
Yes, that's true.
That's It's just not my thing.
I'm going to make you some oven-baked figs with goat's cheese.
I'm pretty sure that I've already had that. Yeah, I'm almost entirely certain you've made that for me in the past before, and I quite enjoyed it.
There's 6 things that I can make, and that's one of them.
But yes, here we get a very good example of what you say, the whole ritualistic thing in Vulcans when T'Pring enters Spock's quarters.
Oh, yes, and they greet one another with...
Spock, parted from me and never parted. Never and always touching and touched.
Yeah.
We meet at the appointed place. Yeah, where else? If you meet somewhere else, then one of you wouldn't be there. Because
it's ritual.
I know.
It's ritual. And he's standing there, in return.
T'Pring, parted from me and never parted. Never and always touching and touched. I await you.
No, and then they kiss, because they've done that. Because that's the value of ritual. It's a way to show effort.
Sure.
Right? Through something that you can observe and experience.
That would be the charitable interpretation, yes.
No, but that's like there is a particular way of doing things, and by doing these things, I can show you like I can show you my love through labor. Right, or to God, or to your parents.
A love through labour, which is not entirely appreciated by T'Pring, because the glasses he painstakingly moved a little forward are moved back by her again, because apparently they not meet with her aesthetic.
This room they have given us seems very human. It is hard to imagine that a Vulcan has slept in here.
See, that's something that I thought was really interesting, and also like that sort of degree of personal preference. Like, what was going on there? Why did he move them in the first place from where they originally were? Maybe because he thought it was nicer. Maybe those were his human sort of nerves that he was appeasing. Like, that looks boring. It should be more interesting for her. But that's an impulse that, like, a Vulcan
wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I mean, my personal theory is that it's the Confederate underpants that he's got on the wall there that she's objecting against.
What the fuck are you talking to?
I don't know.
And favorite that she... God.
It's already favorite. It's one that says, I withdraw my criticism.
Confederate underpants?
You can see it You can see it better towards the end of the episode. But
well, as he says...
It is a work in progress.
Yeah. And she kindly withdraws her criticisms until the decorations are complete. It's like, okay, well, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but I will judge you harshly on it after you claim it finished.
See, this is our second, I think, introduction to T'Pring. We saw her first in the first episode, and so we see this really, really fascinating character, because towards Spock, she's now quite cold and uptight. Previously, she's been quite romantic, and we know she's on first name basis with
when she asked him to marry her.
Yeah. So this coldness, like, it's sort of punitive, right? She's unhappy with how he's been
how he was called away during the last thing.
And the priorities that he set.
Right.
And
when they were rather pointedly by the waiter told to get a room.
What a great idea. And so that's the scene here. Like she's saying, I used my duty as an excuse to come here, but...
Do you understand my professional responsibilities?
Right.
You undertake to rehabilitate those who have committed crimes by showing them the true path of Vulcan logic.
Indeed.
And the comment afterwards...
I have a way with dangerous criminals, it would seem. One such criminal, Barjan Ta'or, has been spotted in the vicinity.
My theory here is that T'Pring she's attracted a little bit to bad boys.
Yeah,
and
right.
Maybe that's why she's into Spock, because he's
absolutely
yes,
because she's a bad girl herself.
Right? Yeah.
Well, she's we later see her mother, T'Pring, and the sort of strained relationship that they have, because T'Pring, is a woman with particular viewpoints, and she has a commanding presence
with a bit of a henpecked husband.
Yeah, who nevertheless just manages to take some delight in the world, but yes, he's quite submissive toward his wife.
Yes. She expresses her criticism of how Spock has been putting his work first, but at least we'll have dinner together tonight. Spock, of course, still has some small diplomatic duties to tend to. And, well...
I expected nothing.
Exactly, that's the stuff I was looking for.
And then he says, but I will be ready for dinner.
Yeah.
I shall look forward to it.
Yeah, of course you will.
And that's a you had better kind of look.
Yes, that's a very much like this is your you've been put on notice, and
and it's not even unfair. I mean,
totally not.
If this occurred during the during the 90s, there would be a sort of, you use the term henpecked, right? There's like, is he whipped? Is he not? He has a demanding girlfriend. But no, like, yes, it is a test, because I'm here to find out whether you care about me as much as I do, because that is an outcome.
I mean, that's literally what's being said later. Is like in the episode when they're in bed together. Yeah. Towards the end, it's like I want to be appreciated. I want you to show that you make time for me as well, not just for your job.
Which is necessary for our relationship.
Yes.
Because otherwise we don't have one. What are we doing with our lives?
Interestingly mirrored with Pike and his his I don't know, fiancée, love interest, whatever. Don't know what their relationship officially is.
Yeah. I mean, on again, off again girlfriend. I guess it's described. They're friends with benefits.
Yeah.
Captain Battelle it makes sense that people of the rank of captain, if they seek a relationship, then someone who has the same sort of duties.
Right. It doesn't make it easier on the getting together, but,
But it makes it easier on, like, okay, we can tolerate each other's absence.
Of course.
Everybody fucks around. Come on.
Proud sluts.
Be boring. Yeah, be boring otherwise. And speaking of, like, mirroring, that's, like, seeing other people's point of view. That's what this whole episode is about.
Yes, very much so.
So we're about to be introduced to an issue with the Rongovians.
Yes, that's the diplomatic duty that Spock is being called to, and they insisted that they only want to talk to Pike.
Yep.
So first of all, they sent, like, I don't know what Starfleet was thinking, sending Tellarite diplomats. Maybe they don't seem to be the most diplomatic type. I mean, maybe that's just for human sensibilities.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
they're since their introduction, they've been played as just argumentative, but that's a cultural practice.
Sure,
like starting an argument is a carrier wave,
of course,
which we can.
No, I understand that, but especially from a human viewpoint, you could argue that that's not a generally diplomatic, unless you happen to have a species which also values that. We don't know, like, what the. You can't, let me put it like this: you can't have it both ways. You can't argue that the Tellarites are unique in having that as a trait, and also saying that makes them good diplomats because that makes them resonate with other people.
No, but if you don't know what the other aliens are like,
true.
Like a Tellarite diplomat is a diplomat first, right? With a Tellarite cultural background, I have no doubt that a trained Federation diplomat from Tellar, I believe the planet is called, has all the same skills and the adaptability that a human or a Vulcan diplomat had, just slight different cultural bias, which the Rongovians are particularly sensitive to.
Right. We learn immediately how well it went.
Well, from a Tellarite point of view, it went great.
Sure, but not exactly from a Federation point of view.
Your beard is as ridiculous as your proposals. Every word you speak is an insult to Rongovia. I can see why they...
And here I thought the Tellarites were rude.
Yeah, exactly.
But from a Tellarite point of view, like, they're being fairly honest.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is Rongovians who said that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I spoke with them. They want nothing to do with us. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I didn't convince them into something that they didn't want to do.
Yeah.
They slammed the door in our face. That's how it should be, right?
Well, yes, but you can argue, I mean, if that's what you're diplomatically after, accepting completely. I mean, diplomacy usually involves people, you want something from the other party. And, like, the thing you don't really want is for them to completely leave you. I mean, sometimes, but that's clearly not what the Federation wants. Federation wants a treaty.
I'm thinking, like, imagine that you had to make a treaty with, like, Dutch farmers. Take some Dutch northerners, right? Plain spoken, real direct.
Yeah.
And you send as your diplomat someone from, like, Minnesota, thinking, agrarian background, both sort of steeped in, but the sort of Minnesota nice, the
I have no idea what Minnesotans are like, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a stereotype of Minnesota nice, which is very proper and very polite, and thereby concealing what you're actually feeling.
Right.
Which, like, a Dutch northerner would not appreciate. Like, you're being fake nice.
Okay.
And I don't know what's underneath that. Just tell me how you feel.
Yeah.
So they might appreciate a Tellarite much more. Like, this person came in and criticized my wallpaper. They hate my wallpaper. Okay, now we have at least something to disagree on.
True. Which actually makes me wonder about the what are they called again? The Rongovians?
The Rongovians. There's an apostrophe in there, but they don't really do anything with it.
No, that's usually indicating a glottal stop or something like that.
Rongovian. It would be Rongovian, but that's only to us. I recently learned that apostrophes are used willy-nilly in different languages, or orthography as they're translated. Like, the example is Lupita Nyong'o, who has an apostrophe between the ng and the o in her name. So I always thought it's Lupita Nyong'o, but it turned out in her language, I think she's Lu. Chief, what's her ethnic background?
Yes, so Lupita Nyong'o is Kenyan. She was born in Mexico City because her father was teaching there, but she is Kenyan specifically from the Lu area of Kenya, or from the Lu people within Kenya.
Thank you. It's the difference between ng and ng.
Ah, right.
So if there was no apostrophe, it would be Nyong'o, and because there's an apostrophe there, it's Nyong'o.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So, yes, there's a little bit about the ships. Like,
Is that an old solar sail ship, sir?
Yeah, they bring her out for ceremonial occasions. When they sign a treaty, apparently they fly the flag of their new allies as a tribute.
Yeah, there's a solar sail ship, also gold, just like
Right.
one in Explorers.
Right, it looks a lot like that, like a large version of that ship. Very similar. I mean, you kind of have to go that way if you want to go solar sails.
I mean, you could do silver.
Sure.
You want it as reflective as possible.
Right. I mean,
don't you?
Ooh.
Yes, you do.
No, you want to catch as much. You want to catch as much. So black might. Why not? Like you want to catch the energy.
No, but then you just get hotter.
Yeah, but you want to catch the energy of the photons. Yeah. So you'd think that capturing it would transfer more energy than just having it bounce off. But
no, that would be like putting a windmill on your boat. Yes, you're capturing the energy of the wind, but your boat's not moving forward.
No, but then you transfer it to the.
No, but a sail ship.
Yeah.
A sail ship has sails to just
right.
like block. That's what you want to do. You don't want to absorb it. You don't want to reflect it. You want to block it so that the kinetic energy has to be transferred to you.
Yeah. Maybe. Don't know. It's all quantum physics anyway. At that point, I have no idea what the difference would be.
So it's a politically charged situation because the Rongovian Protectorate has
right on the border between the Romulans and the Klingons.
Yeah, safe passage to the Beta Quadrant.
Yes.
Without access to that, they keep losing ships because...
We don't know, and we can't wait long to find out. We just learned that the Rongovians are now in negotiation with the Klingons, with the Romulans not far behind.
Wouldn't that put them in the Klingon-Romulan neutral zone?
I mean, it is three-dimensional. We only see two-dimensional maps, but, like, how do these polities actually...
Oh, yeah, we can't just go around this dangerous area. We have to go straight through.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it fits on the 2D map that we can show on the screen.
The Rongovians show up early.
Yeah, what could they want? Well, says Pike...
There's one way to find out.
Yep.
Lieutenant Nooney and Singh show them in.
And in walk these two Rongovians, and I remember the first time that I saw that, immediately I understand what was happening. Because of their makeup.
Oh?
The alien design for these Rongovians.
Yes.
They're bald-headed, they don't have hair, and they have all this
striped face.
patterning on their faces. This is camouflage.
Right, it looks a bit like cuttlefish.
Right.
Yeah.
So immediately, sort of, I understood that this is a cultural touchstone.
Right.
Impersonation, camouflage. What's it called? Imitation.
I thought you were going to go for dazzle painting, but...
It's such a shame radar was invented, words nobody has ever said before.
Well, the Germans maybe during World War II.
Because if radar hadn't been invented, then military ships would still be painted in fucking googie angles.
Right. Although I don't think it was mostly to defend against submarines. And they
yes, because it was to make ranging difficult.
Right, to make it hard for someone looking through a periscope to tell which direction the ship was actually going.
Yes, and whether it's a small boat very close or a large boat farther away, because the silhouette is hard to make out. But God, it was not popular among the sailors who had to serve on those monstrosities.
I guess they had to do a lot of repainting, like keep the painting good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Would you do standard paint on every version of the same ship class, or would you make them unique? Because then if you make them unique, then they're also trackable.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, don't know.
I once spoke with a submariner who served in the Dutch Navy on one of the, I think, diesel-powered submarines we have.
Yeah.
And he was the second navigator. Because, like, I think on American ships, they have two navigational computers in order to get a second opinion, right? A minority report and to ensure that they're accurate. And on Dutch ships, you have one computer and a person who has to do the calculations.
Still do it manually.
Yep, and keep up with the computer in order to verify it. But he also told me about how, like, the sonar technicians can recognize different ships by the characteristics of their... And I asked him, like, hey, do you ever, like, send divers out with clippers to sort of bend the fins of your propellers a little bit to change your signature?
That's classified information.
He said no very easily, but now I'm thinking about it.
Well, you have to be really careful because, like, if the geometry of a prop is very specific and, like, messing it up can, like, have massive effects on making it much louder or stuff. So it's a very dangerous game to play.
Yeah. Plus, it's very cold out there.
It depends on where you are. I mean, if you're up in the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean, then yes, it's cold. Well, actually, it's not that cold because, like, we've got the Gulf Stream for as long as it lasts.
So they walk in, the Rongovians, with the same attitude with which they left the Tellarites, because that was their last experience with the Federation.
We have been waiting in our ship while you are here discussing our upcoming negotiation.
That's very rude of you. But yes, like, oh, you must be Pike. No, I'm not Pike, so no, we don't want to talk to you.
And then as soon as Pike opens his mouth...
Well, if I'd known you were coming early, I could have cooked you up an Earth specialty.
Oh, well, in that case, so nice to meet you, and hello, this is...
Claps him on the shoulder.
Yeah.
And just immediately, because apparently in Rongovian culture, that's how you show respect, interpreting what the other person, their cultural values are, and mirroring it back to them.
Yeah. I mean, that's, not a bad diplomatic tactic, I'd say.
But then how are you supposed to do that to them? How are you supposed to return that when they're such excellent mimics? That's the word.
Well, maybe you should have done your research.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe you should think about the world from their perspective.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it takes Pike a while to figure out, but he does in the end.
I know. I absolutely love this. So La'an is kind of uncomfortable about this, and she wants out.
They totally need a code word.
I should go do the security.
I think that's the code word.
No, not the way she's like saying, like, I should just go do the security thing. And she's just go like, I need to readjust the matter flux capacitor or something, like, just something that you can say casually.
And the other Rongovian, we have a Captain Vaso, and I don't know the other Rongovian's name, speaks with Spock, who already speaks in a measured tone because he knows that Spock is a Vulcan.
Famous for your logic, yes?
And immediately asks a really important question.
Indeed.
Then your voice is also a part of the Federation. That
And
sounds
confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, so they seem to come from a somewhat monolithic command structure, like governmental structure, if they have trouble with the concept of a federation. So did they not do their research? Are they just being difficult here for...
It may be culturally complex or just difficult for them to understand that people maintain their own identity and don't compromise a lot and still behave as a single unified front, because that's not how they solve the problem. They solve that problem by imitating one another and sort of, this is me extrapolating from what we see.
He literally says something along those lines.
We too listen.
Yes.
Empathy is a hallmark of our people. Few understand that.
So, there's definitely...
good point.
The clue is already given away right at the beginning.
Yes. Which is always something that I really love. Like these stories, you're supposed to be able to figure them out.
Right. So, cut to Chapel and... I forgot her name.
Ortegas,
yes.
Erica Ortega.
They are leaving. They are getting ready for the shore leave. They are like very much camaraderie, a little bit, very much not in crew mode. That's what I get from that scene.
Which is good. Like they're both experienced officers, and they know, okay, today, uniform off.
Yeah.
Our job is to restore and recharge our batteries and
collecting the doctor to make sure that he doesn't accidentally stay on the ship and keeps working.
No, he's got someone that he wants to meet, and so does Chapel, right?
Yeah, she's got
excited to see Lieutenant Dever.
She's got a little shore leave nookie queued up.
Yeah, and she likes that he's like simple and straightforward, and he likes to bang just like she does. Like excited by that simplicity.
And we now should know that Chapel is canonically bisexual.
Yes, I think a very brief mention of non-straight sexuality in Strange New Worlds, but yeah, exactly.
And you said the same thing about that gal on Argelius too.
That was a misunderstanding. It was one time.
One very entertaining time.
How is being chased by a live phaser fire fun?
Clearly, they must have spoken about this at length if she manages to throw back in one very entertaining time. Either there were three of both of them were involved, which is also possible. Or she must have spoken to it about at length.
Well, she was running interference before she's being a wing woman to her buddy. So they're like, either this happened during the last 5 episodes, during their time on Enterprise, because they've only recently been billeted.
Yes.
Or they know each other since before the Enterprise.
Right. Oh, good point, yes. They file off to the transporter room.
Yes.
Where...
Worried you might show up in a silly hat.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
He's got this classic little outdoor cap.
Just a sun hat with all of his lures on it.
Yes, which is apparently what you're supposed to do when you go fly fishing.
I mean, a little bit of extra weight keeps it on your head, and it's fun.
I suppose, yes.
To pick the lure that you want to use from your hat. And you also know where they are.
Because you have to take your hat off, and then you have to look for the right lure, unless you know by feel.
I mean, you don't want to put them in a box because they get tangled with each other.
Well, I mean, you've got those fishing boxes, which generally have those little compartments.
You have those compartments, but you can also just carry it on your hat. It's fun. And you can
it leaves it more accessible. You don't have to wade back to shore every time that you want to change
good
lures.
point.
I mean, I've really never been fishing, but somehow, like the thought of standing in a Scottish river somewhere in waders, like with a fishing rod, it hasn't appealed to me. If I got the opportunity, I would definitely give that a try.
Just standing there chilling and
catch some salmon, make gravlax.
Oh, I wonder how straight up like sashimi, just fresh sashimi.
Oh,
fresh ass sashimi. Oh, that must be amazing.
It may not be good.
Oh. Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
That, especially if you have tuna, fresh tuna tastes almost like nothing. You want it to mature a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it maybe not as good as you expect it to be.
Okay. Well, it does sound like a lot of work and quite cold also. So
very true.
Lieutenant Ortegas, Dr. Mbenga, and Nurse Chapel, you are officially checked out. Enjoy your shore leave.
Laan Noonien Singh.
Right, Singh, not Sung, yeah.
And Una Chin Riley, number 1,
yes.
and Chief Kyle.
She actually signs as number 1 when she gets to the Scorch later on. I noticed that, which is kind of like a little, other than just like signing it anyway, as like making your mark, letting everybody else who comes afterwards going like, oh shit, the chief was here.
Oh yeah, I wonder why. I mean, we learned that she's Illyrian, which is humanoid, and like her version is almost indistinguishable from human, except for the style of her eyebrows. I think she passes as human. She's not known to be Illyrian by Starfleet.
No, that's because that's a problem. That becomes like the whole Starfleet genetically modified.
Yeah, quite discriminatory. I wonder if her culture has a written language, or maybe she just doesn't want to use her own culture's written language.
Good point.
She's concealing. So, but this is where we learn.
Yes.
The nickname.
Again. You should have...
Jinx.
Yes. Jinx.
No, hijinks.
Oh, hijinks. Hijinks. Yes.
Hijinks. Oh, new tradition is born. I wonder if we'll remember. And in a gif that we can only share with our lemon-stealing whores, and that we can't unfortunately play loudly here, Ortegas and Nurse Chapel both sort of emphatically shake their heads at him. No. And he goes,
I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I should probably go. Chief Kyle.
Energize, please, energize.
What nickname?
No.
I can't remember. It's...
Where fun goes to die.
Yeah.
She just comes out with it. Like, she knows, like, okay, we're not going to be able to hold it back at this point. Which is, like, a bit of a long nickname,
Yeah.
It's almost like he who shall not be named, It's like where fun goes to die. Like... I can imagine them like sitting there talking about it, like, oh no, don't do that. You like where fun goes to die
sees you.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to report to where fun goes to die.
Next, we have a scene where it's T'Pring and Spock again. Or
sorry, I just want one more because Chief Kyle, played by the beautiful Andre Day Kim, is being a very good wing dude for all three of these people who want to get out of that. He beams them out of this conversation, and I was so envious. Like, I wish I had a Chief Kyle standing by to energize me
out of any awkward conversation.
And Una asked him, "Do you know about this?" And he's like,
"No, of course not. No.
Like,
yeah. But yes, back in Spock's quarters.
Or should we say Spock?
Yes.
Which I thought was a nice touch to... Because like the sound is like something that for a lot of English speakers is notoriously difficult to make because it doesn't occur in regular English. I mean, the Scots have no problem.
Yeah.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, no. And I think they also have a distinction between the Ich-Laut and the Ach-Laut, like in German. But yeah, we get some more examples. I think the first time that I heard it as Spock was in the motion picture.
Oh, okay.
During his Kolinar ceremony.
I don't recall that, but yes.
And a very pissed off T'Pring.
Yes, because she's made a food tower, or a food cone, I suppose.
Yeah, there's a profiterole tower.
No. I think it's more like a pilaf or something. Like it looks more like it's like one of those rice towers, which has got like stuff at the bottom, which is when you cook it's at the top, of course. You don't get a good shot of it. Oh, we do. We do get a good shot of it.
Yeah, at the end after
it looks fantastic.
Away.
I want to dig into that. It looks...
Perhaps you should go prepare for your important work.
And she leaves this dinner that
Bye.
Yeah, because it's all cold now and rubbish or warm or whatever it's supposed to be.
Only now we get the credits.
15 minutes in.
Yeah.
Is that a record, Chief?
So, as obsessive as Star Trek fans are, you would think that would be something that would just be readily available It's not super available. There's some information I can find, but it's 5 years old, so it's only going back to the first season of Discovery. This is longer than the very first season of Discovery, all of them. However, I can't really tell for sure without looking through all of them, and that's more research than I'm going to do for this question. I'm sorry.
Don't think it is, but I seem to recall us talking in another episode about what the record length cold open was. Is that cold open? Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah. I never skip the credits for Strange New Worlds because it's just all these loving shots. Oh, and the music, and just I love how the Enterprise is presented here.
Mm-hmm.
You get all these close-ups, like you see the sort of welded hull and the distortion of the discharge from the impulse engines and at the back of the warp nacelle.
Right, yes.
Like
the heat shimmer that you get of those.
Yeah, and you go, okay, she's powerful, she's strong, like she wants to go.
Flagship.
Yeah.
Even if she looks a bit weedy compared to modern airships, you know.
Yeah, but she's, I mean, like Pike rides his horse. Right, that's what the Enterprise is here. She's a mare. She wants to go.
Battles.
He'll make you his mare. We see a cool, fun sort of nightclub looking environment.
Yes, where Nurse Chapel is not having a good date.
No.
Hey, we don't have to order food, you know. We could just get out of here.
But I'm hungry. And they have Slaniki and shirts.
Yeah, they're always in season.
Yeah, that makes them so special. They're always in season.
Yeah, but...
All I'm saying is that instead of talking, we could be off having fun.
Oh, I thought we might talk about us.
Warp.
Yeah, abort. Yes.
Jackson, like she's looking around for Chief Kyle. Kyle, anyone? Is anyone energized? Please.
Sorry. I really need to go and check on my friend.
That's basically, yeah.
Because even like his voice sort of fades out as her relationship anxiety.
Very much so. And she goes and wanders off to Spock, who is sitting there dining alone. And she catches on to it because, like...
You told her you were going to be home for dinner, and then you weren't.
I found myself in an impossible circumstance where I was unable to reconcile my many...
All right.
Okay. Are we pulling the Treaty of Mintaka 4?
Oh, sure. We split the two storylines, which is one, Singh, right.
Noonien Singh is her family name.
Which is, I believe, a name that Roddenberry put in there because it was like someone who he met in his military time, I think.
In his time in the Air Force.
Air Force, yeah.
Yeah, it was a person serving in the Indian Air Force, Noonien Singh. They lost touch with each other, as was possible to do back before the internet.
Yes.
And by naming, originally it was Khan Noonien Singh.
Right.
By sort of giving that name on screen, he hoped that maybe one day this...
He would remember that, hey, I knew a guy called Roddenberry once. I wonder if...
Exactly.
But yes, like Singh is a bit of a running name that comes back time and time again.
I mean, the creator of Data was Noonien Singh,
right.
also very similar.
That was Sung. Yeah, that was why I was thinking Sung rather than Singh.
Also with the name Noonien. And La'an is, I think, a direct descendant of Khan.
Yes, I do believe so.
Mm-hmm.
Which can't be that far. I mean, yeah. I'm trying to work out the timeline here.
Oh, well,
Wrath of Khan takes place after this.
No, but Khan was in cryostasis when he was found by Kirk. This is still like she's a descendant from his original timeline, which I think originally was in the 90s.
Yeah.
The eugenics wars, and then after various time travel shenanigans, which I love. Like Strange New Worlds introduced us to this. Yeah, when I first started serving in the Time Corps, the eugenics wars still happened in the 1990s. They've moved a bit since then.
So yes, so they're talking about like, hey, what's going on about this? They're talking about the nickname. They don't like, oh, I don't like that, and like she doesn't really mind the nickname, but
I don't either. Just not knowing makes me feel out of touch. As a senior officer, I don't get to be part of the crew anymore.
Yes, because as senior officers, Una and La'an are apparently very out of touch with the junior officers, and they just don't get to understand that. Again, like seeing other people's point of view.
Yeah,
so this is the thing that. There are comedic episodes that are extremely fun just because they're wild divergences from the normal expectation. But the really, really successful ones have an emotional core. Like the musical episode, Subspace Rhapsody. Yeah, it's wild that they did a musical episode, but it's also intensely emotional.
Oh, yeah, cool.
And kind of tragic and like very serious in its own way.
Mm.
They have this really important core, and everyone, with the exception of Hemmer, it is my warp core. is busy trying to understand other people's point of view, which is hard. It's really hard.
I mean, she says it like, as a senior officer, I don't get to be part of the crew anymore. And then, like, which is countered by Singh.
Oh, no, that's not because you're a senior officer.
Because you're terrifying.
Because you terrify people.
No, that's a compliment. Then they reminisce a little bit about, but it's so nice to be able to just like work. Like, I mean, I guess the problem that they're having right now is that because there's so many people not on the ship anymore, that the workahol concentration is like higher than normal. It's not that nobody's breathing it in, so it's like it just gets used up, and they're like, like I was looking forward to doing the duty rosters.
I was going to check the phaser power supplies in the armory, and as she says,
it's like Christmas.
Yeah.
But they're interrupted by a security breach.
Yep.
And La'an
Authorized access in progress.
Copy.
And they run off to the airlock on level 4 or wherever it is, and
people are idiots.
there are two cadets or ensign. I have no idea what they are. It's like, oh no, don't shoot. We're just like trying to. I guess so what is it? Unauthorized access in progress. So are they trying to, what do you think? Have they already been out and are they getting back in, or are they still on their way out?
I think they're on their way out. I think they're doing the full sort of decompression cycle, and they're about to put their helmets on. But yeah, it's an unscheduled.
Well, then they would already have their helmets on.
Oh, we don't know what the normal checklist is for doing EVA.
Right, true, but like, I mean, would they just like going into the airlock? Would that already be a unauthorized access?
I mean, it may be that when you're in dock, there's an automatic like 5-minute timer that you have to start or something. Or maybe they are coming back. They do mention that they were trying to sign the Scorch,
right? Yeah,
which I don't think they successfully did.
I mean, this seems like it could be an easy one on the Starch Enterprise bingo, because you can get 2 in one go, because you do an unauthorized EVA and you get to sign the Scorch.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Technically. I mean, I guess you can do them separately, but you don't have to do an unauthorized. You could do it during a authorized EVA if you just happen to be in the neighborhood.
Yes, yeah. Because, okay, sticking with these two, after they severely discipline these cadets.
There's a fantastic scene where they're just like, where La'an calls bad cop. Oh, no.
No,
sorry. No, it's right. Singh calls bad cop.
Actually, since I don't have the ability to, I'm retracting the Mintaka 4 thing, because I can't actually find the GIFs and play them.
Okay, fair enough.
So we have to stick with them. Listeners, it's going to be a long episode. Don't worry about pausing it if you need to get some sleep.
Sorry, Chief.
Also that.
So I'm just kind of sitting here and just thinking about it, and I think that you guys need to learn some of the lesson from this episode of radical empathy to think about me when you keep talking so long. This episode is so long. What are you doing?
All right. The treaty has been rescinded. Chapel wasn't just using Spock as an excuse to get out of a conversation that she couldn't be beamed out of. She genuinely does want to talk to him, see what's wrong.
Yeah.
And he really opens up to her. Well, after she says,
Spock, you're clearly an extraordinarily intelligent person.
Yeah. But he
You're also an idiot.
Oh, yes.
I feel I should have seen that coming.
Walked into that one, yeah. But yes, he's concerned that T'Pring thinks that she's incompatible because he's half human. And like, no, it's not about that. You're just being a dickhead. It's like,
yes.
You're supposed to put her ahead of your duties. That's what being in a relationship is. It's mutual sacrifice.
And?
Pretty much why I avoid them.
Yeah.
Which is also the key to the Rongovian situation.
Yeah.
It's beautiful how well this episode holds together.
But he tells a little bit about how he was raised on Vulcans and how he had a very hard time because every human trait was used to be bullied with.
And he does mention that, well, I did have a best friend.
I was bonded to my pet Ceylon, Achaya.
I had a Malamute.
Yeah,
named Milo. Mayor.
Ichaya, he calls her.
Yeah, instead of Ichaya.
Yes, because the voice actor who played Child Spock got that wrong. And it's a very pleasant conversation that they're having.
Yes.
Because the Spock that we see in Strange New World is so much more open than the Spock that we know in the latter eras of Star Trek. Because he really listens and he takes people's advice as well.
Everything still seems to be come together because after they have this conversation, it is back to T'Pring and Spock.
Yes.
Because he apparently has like convinced her to be able to make some amends and they are going to do a little ritual, which is
A
kind of like an
Vulcan soul
extended
sharing.
mind meld. Yeah.
Yeah.
They ring their bell. Ring their bell.
It's such a Spock solution. Like, I've failed to see your point of view.
So let's
do mind shit.
Exactly. But it very quickly turns out that, apparently we have switched bodies.
Yes, because
This was not meant to happen. How do we switch back?
Yeah. Well, let's go and figure that out.
Yeah, there's a lot of Vulcan speech here. Let's see if that comes through.
So how de gem en falpas.
Beautiful language. Lovely phonemes.
Sonage
et
survalum.
the strength, the chant of strength. Yes. But yes, they touch their faces, and it's a body swap episode.
Yes. For only a minor one. There's only 2 people do a body swap.
Yeah, and they haven't gone like full Farscape, where it's everybody multiple times,
Yes,
and they have to do the
yes.
Vulcans, and everybody has to figure out, okay, how does these bodies work?
Meanwhile, diplomatic negotiations have not gone well.
Yeah.
The Rongovians aren't happy. They refuse to play along, and nope. They're trying to figure out what's going on, because, as he says...
Right? I mean, if that was a bad diplomatic meeting, I don't know what a good one would look like.
So we're going to have to go back and tell more. They don't want to really talk. Well, they don't want to talk to you anymore. Now they want to talk to Spock.
Who is sitting in his room, and they're sort of... Him and T'Pring in each other's bodies have their hands on each other's heads.
Yes.
Just...
Anything?
It's very cute how they... also very well done how they're trying to basically play each other's mimicry.
Yes. So they've been at this apparently for hours, and then the doorbell rings. And Spock, T'Pring in Spock asks, what should we do?
Logic suggests the easiest way to get them to go away is for you to answer while pretending to be me.
Yeah.
I know how a door works.
Yeah. So there's some awkward talk while they're trying to hide what's been happening from Pike.
Yeah, who's like, I'm sorry, I promised to leave you alone, but they will only talk to you, Spock.
Yes. There's a bit of confusion of first T'Pring calling him.
It is of no consequence, Captain.
And then Spock calling him.
Chris.
And it's you can see him slowly starting. He hasn't figured it out by the time they decide to come clean, but there's definitely it's something going on here.
It's
you can
so
see
good.
Pike
If there's
noticing.
an emergency, then of course you must speak with Spock. Who is right there?
It's so good. And eventually they decide that there really isn't anything else to do except tell him.
Yeah.
Because...
You're pretty much all that stands between us and the Rongovians allying with the Klingons or the Romulans. Hell, maybe both.
So they declare...
We have switched bodies.
Get out of town.
We are not in a town.
Oh, stop.
I'm Spock, I'm T'Pring, and...
Now that you know, you can likely tell the very clear differences in our mannerisms.
You see him standing there going no.
No, but it is completely clear, because Spock is standing there with his hands folding in front of him, and T'Pring has her hands folded behind her. So
I get it. But...
Yeah. And there we get one of my favorite chiefs.
Yeah, totally.
Cut to the interrogation of the 2 ensigns.
Yes, where she goes.
Back up, damn!
Gotta be quicker.
Gotta be quicker, Chief.
Yeah.
We get a little scene where they're both, one of them is interrogating one of them is interrogating the other. It's implied
What's
that
the point of bad
I
cop
assume
if you only have...
I assume there's going to be a switcheroo. First they do their individual interviews, then they switch around, then the other one interviews them, and then they have the final get together where they are all sitting together and they tell them what's going on.
And it is...
It was Enterprise Bingo! We were doing Enterprise Bingo! I heard you.
And this is really cool because she has no idea what she's talking about. But
Yeah.
She plays it well, of course you are. I heard what you were saying.
Yep.
So yes, but it basically gets down to...
You can't overlook the fact that both of you acted in a very irresponsible manner.
Very.
Your shore leave is revoked. You'll spend the next 2 days assigned to Chief Kyle.
No, not Chief Kyle. He's so mean.
We'll have you micro-cleaning the transporter pads.
With their own toothbrushes.
Yes, get the hell out of here.
Well, is Enterprise Bingo?
Yeah, so they have no idea, and okay, we're going to have to find out.
And Spock, as T'Pring Yes, we should name them by their actual names.
Right, yeah.
Speaks with Katil, who is T'Pring's assistant.
I love her hairdo. She looks a bit Indian, ethnically speaking.
Yes, I believe that Jia Sandhu, who plays T'Pring, is also of Indian descent, or of the subcontinent.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Chief, can I get a correction on that?
No, yeah, Kaki, that's correct. So Jia Sandhu is of Indian descent, and then Tahere Vejdani, who is the assistant, is of Persian and Indian descent.
Thank you.
Who turns out that one of the dudes that T'Pring is chasing is now suddenly calling for a meeting.
Yes, and...
No other Vulcan could pull this off.
I am sure that I am great at this, but circumstances are complicated.
So she tries to delay until this Chapel later, who tells him to but just do it. Like you were doing this to get to know each other better. But I can't do her job. I'm like, why not? She's doing yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Let's go for this.
Imagine if they could have offered this to the Rongovians. You know, hey, as a diplomatic, just walk in each other's shoes for a day.
Right, yeah.
They would love that.
Sure, yes.
If you join the Federation, we can do mind swaps on you. You'll solve all of our social problems and possibly create new ones.
Probably, yes. They figure out what the Enterprise bingo is, and they start going down the list.
Yes, it's quite comprehensive.
Use the transporter to refresh gum, which I guess it makes sense. Like the transporter registers it as gum and just replaces it with new gum rather than old gum.
Is it something active? Is it something that you're supposed to? Okay, we're gonna take the original pattern of the gum and sort of restore that.
I guess
not the original pattern of your brain.
Right.
I'm going to leave your brain the way it was.
Then the phaser duel in the corridor, which goes pretty bad. I mean, it's a bad duel. It's like
Ready? Aim. Wait.
Oh, that really stings.
Yeah. Oh, there's an even more stringent
fun yet?
duel of the lift, the turbo lift, where they both grab at the same time and they yell,
"Engineering! Destination. Engineering."
Yes, the biological inertial dampeners, as I like to call them.
Yeah. That really stings.
So Ortegas is with Chapel. They're hanging out in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, it looks like. Actually, where is this? Chief, where was this filmed?
So, it doesn't look like it's the Pacific Northwest. It actually looks like it's filmed in Toronto, since that's where most of Star Trek Strange New Worlds was filmed, is in and around Toronto. So it looks like it would be on the other side of the coast there.
Yep.
That will have been so interesting to listen to.
Yes.
And Ortega sort of counsels her friend, hey, you really shouldn't get in the middle of a Vulcan relationship because they will attack you with a lirpa.
I have scars.
They will hit you with a lirpa.
Spock as T'Pring shows up, and Ortega's really gladly takes the opportunity to be dismissed here.
Good luck, you two.
Hi.
And the reaction is,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because what else can you do? What else can you do? But,
yes. I mean, Spock quickly confesses that he is in fact Spock and not T'Pring.
Yeah, and...
It must be so weird.
It's
being inside your fiance's body.
And you've not even really,
Well, that's what he does. He says that. He goes,
I had not taken the time to consider it.
Yes. And
he says, looking down.
Exactly.
Oh, Farscape, obviously the one that we did a way wilder body swap where it was multiple people. And yes, when John Crichton is alone, doing some engineering and realizes, okay, I'm in the body of the woman that I've had the hots for, and has a quick little peek. And Claudia Black did such a good job of sort of peekabooing her own boobs at herself.
Yes.
And then jumping up and down. Look at her, the jiggle. While people are looking on and is like, come on.
I mean, you can't imagine that Claudia,
John Crichton, Aaron Sun.
That Aaron didn't have a little waggle when she was standing at the urinal herself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You were in my shoes and I was in your pants.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the even better scene where Rigel, the tiny slug-like alien, finds himself in the body of Ben Browder, our giant hunky hero, and goes, I have to pee. Okay, well, go in the corner or something. How does this work?
Yeah.
Take it out and point it like a gun. Oh, okay, I see. That's handy.
Meanwhile, on the Enterprise, they are still working their way down the list.
So, are we done with this pointless exercise?
Yeah, because I'm not
feeling it.
Yeah.
But they're trying to figure out why they're doing this.
Yeah. What's the point? And they're sort of figuring it out. Hey, it's to break the rules.
Yeah, Sync comes with that. And it's like, it's weird. So it doesn't really work for us because we make the rules. We're the ones enforcing it. So we're not really breaking the rules. So we need to, if we want to experience this right, we need to find a way to break the rules.
Yeah. Because as much as La'an sort of wants to quit, Una doesn't.
No.
Here's a task. I'm going to finish it, obviously.
Very good point, yes.
I've added it to my duty roster.
Spock, or I should say T'Pring, is having a logic off with the aliens. I forgot what their name was.
The Rongovians.
The Rongovians, yes.
And, her strategy, which, she's an experienced negotiator. She's dealt with...
Yes, I mean, if you're used to bringing in, she sounds like she works for the logic board, trying to bring in Vulcans who have rejected logic, which is kind of like a hostage negotiator, right? I get the impression.
Yes, because it's an interesting challenge to have to use to convince someone of the value of logic, which they've already rejected.
Yes.
Using what?
Yeah, logic. I mean,
but that.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's interesting that the people that she's after, the Vatosh Couture, were already established in Enterprise.
Uh-huh.
A really great episode where they find this ship of radicals who've gone out into space. They're Vulcans who've embraced emotion in addition to logic.
Yeah,
and they're kind of chill. And they like sex, and
sure,
they just have a way more relaxed attitude, and they're so sexy.
But it kind of turns into a bit of a gotcha until Pike interjects.
Yes, sitting off to the side with Robert April, his admiral, and apparently longtime friend, and we're just allowed to be here as a
courtesy. Yes,
yeah, but we really shouldn't interject because while the conversation is happening, it's actually turning quite personal against Spock.
Yes.
And also, it's T'Pring who's understanding a lot more about what Spock faces every day.
Yeah.
Because she says...
As a Vulcan, I sympathize with your fears. That you will lose your culture to homogenization and a multilateral alliance like ours.
And Pike hears this. Pike hears how she's misrepresenting Spock.
Yes.
Because she thinks that she's representing Spock when she says...
There are times I wish I could return to Vulcan to focus on my culture. Instead of traveling the galaxy, focusing on Starfleet.
Yes, and he interjects and he holds a passionate, glowing speech or recommendation of how Spock has been functioning.
Yeah, Chief, can you cut the whole thing in? Because it's just gorgeous.
Yes.
If I may, Spock, it is a noble sacrifice you've made. To spend so much time away from your own culture.
It is?
Yes, it is. Your commitment to the Federation, and to understanding both the values and plights of cultures wildly different, sometimes at great personal cost. Your constant striving for intellectual excellence, and your commitment to the spirit of duty is inspirational. To answer the question, why the Federation, one need only look across the table, Captain Basso. You, Mr. Spock, are simply everything that is great about Starfleet.
This is someone standing up for his friend, to his girlfriend, who he thinks doesn't understand and appreciate exactly the person that she's betrothed to, and how wonderful that is, and why, it is a failure on her part to understand what Spock's going through and what that means to him.
Yes.
It's also a failure of Spock to articulate it, of course.
Yes, of course, but...
And a failure of Spock to understand what's important to her and how she needs to be shown...
But yeah, since we're in an entirely different context, that gives it a different twist in how it bears upon the situation. But the Rongovians are quite happy, I guess.
Your actions have impressed us, Captain, defending your crewmen like that.
And the Rongovians offer them the opportunity for summation.
Yeah.
Good result.
We're not happy with what we've seen so far, but you'll get one more shot at it. That's basically what they're saying.
We get a little sort of montage of Mbenga, picking the lure that he wants to use and putting the remaining one on his hat and throwing out his line.
I love the detail. You see it here, but you also see it in another shot where here it's more noticeable because it goes down from the water up, so then you can see the buildings reflected in water. But the other time it's more subtle when you see the arch of the domes, and then the camera pans down and you actually see that arch reflected in the water.
Yeah,
that is very well done in the CGI department.
We don't spend a lot of time on these starbase, but I think especially about Star Trek Beyond, where you had Starbase Yorktown, this beautiful giant sort of snow globe in space.
Why did that starbase get a name and not a number? Because usually they're just numbered. Yorktown sounds more like the one of the ships would be called that.
I mean, it's the Kelvin universe, so it's an alternate timeline with slightly different technologies as well. But like the glimpses that we catch of regular life and just the sights that you have as you walk around what is basically a city, except it's multidimensional and like Escherian with walkways overhead and just this piece of Mbenga throwing out a line and
that's the last we see of Mbenga in this episode. Cut to Chapel and Spock. No, Spock into
Spock as T'Pring, because Spock has brought his friend Christine along to help understand. I don't think it's ultimately that successful.
Talk to the defected Vulcan.
Barjant Orr,
who's sitting there playing 3D chess, apparently in like a little Vulcan enclave there, because there's more Vulcans around there.
Yeah, I guess it's a public park, but there are areas where you go to enjoy. Maybe it's a little Vulcan cafe where they put the right amount of sulfur into the tea that they like.
Very good point. So I've got to. I'm not going to call it a warp core here, but there's something weird going on here. So we've got this anti-logic Vulcan running around who needs to be brought in, right?
Yes,
he needs to be either talked in or brought in.
Yeah,
because apparently punching him out and then dragging him off is fine. He doesn't need his voluntary surrender isn't required.
Not entirely sure about that.
Well, clearly not, because otherwise punching him out and and hauling him in wouldn't be acceptable.
But we don't know if he's been hauled in at the end of the episode.
There seems to be an implication that it is.
There is an implication, but I don't think it's actually explicitly made clear what happens to Barjan after Spock punches him out.
I don't know. I thought
I'm with you. I understand it as well. But yeah, we don't really know the organization that she worked for, the Elkesh Tanktil.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's about like offering them rehabilitation, asking them to do so, or maybe there's court mandated. It's possible that it's the fact that they call it rehabilitation is also a little bit scary.
Yeah, very true. Okay, so I don't know. Like, especially considering the end where Spock confesses to T'Pring that he punched him.
Having met him, that is logical.
That's an entirely logical approach.
Hey, it's possible that Vulcan jurisdiction doesn't apply, like that his conduct on Vulcan is criminal within Vulcan law, but not in intergalactic law, not under Federation law outside. And so, outside of Vulcan, she can't really bring him in.
No, unless he surrenders himself. But yeah, okay, so I got the implication that he was being hauled in at this point, and that after he got punched out, but it's true. It's not explicitly said that he does that he is. So we could go with like, it's still on the run. Like now, I punched him. Yeah, sorry about that. I punched him, and now you still have to come and find him, and I probably made your work a lot harder. Yeah. Although I don't get that vibe from that exchange either. So yeah.
The most important thing about this exchange is that Spock learns what it's like for T'Pring to be betrothed to him.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't looked at it from her perspective, that she gets very similar racist and discriminatory responses for having chosen to wed a non-human or a non-Vulcan, as you've seen. And like, God, he's just absolutely savage.
Yeah, for someone who declines a significant part of Vulcan culture, as in logic, he's very judgmental.
Humans evolved from apes, did they not? You've kept many of their charming qualities, it would seem.
I would caution you to stop insulting my companion.
And so this is Barjan, but this must happen all the time. And that's something Spock had never occurred to him before. And she's never mentioned it. And she takes it on the chin as a part of their relationship. Despite the fact that for her, it must be a lot more shocking and difficult than for him, because he's had experience with discrimination all of his life. Mm-hmm. It's not a new experience, doesn't make it any better. And he can escape from it.
Yeah.
Because he goes to Starfleet where he's accepted. And she doesn't have that option. And this is him learning how much he has in common, and also the kind of sacrifice that she's, not sacrifice, but a consequence that she's accepting.
That she gets this kind of beration quite a lot. Do we know that actor who plays Barton?
I was thinking that as well.
His face looked very familiar to me. It's like...
Chief, do we know him from anything?
Cocky, we absolutely know him from some things. So this is Alden Adair. He's a character actor that's just in quite a few things. So Working Moms, Maps to the Stars, Cardinal, and he was in 6 episodes of season 2 of The Expanse. He is a belta-loda.
All right, thank you.
It's also interesting to see someone with what we would recognize as male pattern baldness.
Right, yes.
I think at this point, I don't know if we've seen bald Vulcans before. We have seen them on Discovery at least.
Oh, yes.
But they may shave. Who knows?
Good point, yes.
And he also has particularly interesting eyebrows. Like, they're just these little curls at the end,
yes.
making him look sort of a little bit upset.
A little bit diabolic. Yeah. Fortunately, the problems are all solved by Mbenga.
Yes.
What is this noxious paste you're applying to our skulls?
He's almost like Phlox.
He is a bit, yes, because it's...
Ground nibble and sea urchin.
Yep, it's nutrient-rich, water-resistant, and a very good match for Vulcan skin, electromagnetically speaking, and he's sure this was...
Trust me, this will become Federation study.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Eventually.
Yeah. And
now that you've covered our heads in sea urchin paste?
They've got a wee solution that will just sort of wave some lights and everything will
It's going to make it very unattractive for someone else to be in your head, and so you're going to pop right back if everything works.
Yeah,
fine.
and it'll just be easy. We'll just flip the switch and...
Apparently it's not a very pleasant procedure.
The light fixtures in sickbay are so gorgeous. They've got this sort of copper-colored and...
It's probably the isolation field generators or something.
Oh, yeah, probably something like that. And Spock, returned to his own body, gets to thank Christine for her advice.
Yes, thank you for the help.
And she says it's no big deal, but...
For me, the deal was very big.
Yep.
It's a lovely way to express it.
Because Vulcans cannot lie.
He lied.
At least. Not in the way that humans can.
Yeah.
And then he does what he should have done in the first place. Instead of proposing a really Vulcan ritual, because that was, the advice that she got the first time. If your human part is such a problem for her, show her that you...
How Vulcan you really are.
Well, we do mind stuff. We do ritual stuff.
Yes.
So here goes something really obscure, and I've really put some labor into it.
All those candles, man.
Yeah, I know.
Like 3 weeks worth of carbon credits.
Not to mention the wax buildup on everything. And now he just sits with his fiancée and tells her what he's been feeling and thinking.
Yes.
And it's wonderful. And she sits and listens. And he explains that it's quite difficult for him to think about Vulcan because it's not home. It's a place where he's discriminated.
Yeah.
And he always has been. And he's been othered, and he always has to prove himself. Whereas in Starfleet...
In Starfleet, I am accepted for who I am. Half Vulcan, half human. I am, quite simply, Spock.
Yeah, and as she expresses her concerns, like...
And I feared that you saw our relationship as just that. A duty. Rather than something more.
Which clearly is not the case.
And we don't see exactly how that's resolved. I mean, she says that...
We must both want to be here.
It's resolved by kissing, then dragging each other into bed and, going at it like rabbits.
Yeah. And whatever this means...
Yes, because the later...
Oh, I think I've heard that before. En Lok Tuan Sich.
Okay.
Oh, it might just be on non-password protected tumblers where Spock's romantic side is appreciated. That might just be straight up, I love you in Vulcan.
Yeah. We have the final scene of the diplomacy where Pike plays his hunch.
Yes.
And he starts radically sympathizing with them.
Yeah.
Which, you really don't want to go deal with us.
Uhura and April were so concerned about what's he going to say. I hope he knows what he's talking about. And Pike won't say it because
come on, Bob, where's the drama in that?
And he said, you don't want to join us probably because it's probably more trouble than it's worth, and we can offer you scientific breakthroughs and all that, but you'd probably get into and we will come to help you if war breaks out.
Here.
Our promise of support in the event of a crisis, which will probably only come about because you've thrown your lot in with us.
Exactly. And they go
thank you.
This is what we wanted to hear. We wanted to hear that you can see our point of view, that you can sympathize with it. You can put yourselves in our place, and that's what we needed. That's what we wanted to hear.
Yeah. Because the kind of diplomacy that we're used to is one where you explain your point of view in a way that you think is acceptable to them and convince them that they should approach it, right? It's argument. Whereas the Rongovians, their whole deal is, I'm going to show you how much I already understand about you.
Yeah.
I've studied everything, and this is how we must see the world.
That's how I understand you. And then you can make a judgment call based on that to see whether or not you think you're compatible.
Yep. And you can continue to change and show me more, and I'll adjust to that. But you also have to do the same thing.
Right, yes.
That's why they were so upset with Pike, because he was just having a great conversation with a peer, and he wasn't approaching them.
Yeah.
He wasn't modeling the world, and now he does.
And same could be said with T'Pring.
Ooh.
Because they were just like, it was just a logic battle.
Yes.
It was like she was giving logical arguments why they should join the Federation.
Yes.
And they were being countered, and it was just a battle of words, so to speak.
Yeah. Which is not how I think they're so fascinating. And I know that they're a one-off species, and it sort of makes sense, right? Because they belong in this story, but it's such a fascinating form of governance and diplomacy.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Pike actually goes...
And then it occurred to me, what if this was a diplomatic technique?
I'm kind of curious whether or not it's a diplomatic technique or it's like a core component of their species psychology.
Well, that was Uhura's sort of conclusion. Like they
So you're saying they copy anyone they come into contact with?
Right, and that's what he sort of rejects. Maybe that's just one of the expressions.
Right.
Because, how about this? The way that you make people comfortable in sort of regular life, those rituals and those practices, in diplomacy, those are exaggerated.
Sure.
Right? Well, in our cultures that we're familiar with, you make people comfortable in your home by having it tidy, and you make them feel welcome, and you show them where to sit, you show them the rules of your house, and you emphasize their comfort. And in a diplomatic situation, like you have a neutral location, you have all this sort of pageantry and ritual to make them feel important and comfortable. Yeah. It's an exaggeration of how you would invite someone into your home. Yeah. So if a culture is argumentative like the Tellarites, then, their diplomacy is probably an even more exaggerated version of that. Yeah. And for the Rongovians, just basically... imagine like something as simple as a Rongovian will clasp their hands the way that you do, as a sign of politeness.
Well, mirroring, yeah.
Mirroring, yeah. When they walk into your home, but they may also choose to clasp their hands differently. And now it's your turn because they're communicating something.
Oh, yes.
And they're offering you an opportunity.
Our captain, my apologies.
Don't put your hands on your hips.
And as they are having this conversation, in the background, we can see the ship starting to unfold its solar sails.
They're flying our flag.
Yeah.
So, successful negotiations have been made. And we get a lovely shot of this ship departing, which is also witnessed by Una and Singh,
yes,
who are walking on the outside of the hull. No spacesuits. They've just got a force field around them.
And we're 100% sure the force field will hold.
99%.
It'll do. And the Scorch, as we only now learn, is the oldest unreplaced piece of the Enterprise hull.
Yeah. Why would you have that? That's so dangerous. To have such a something that is so much weaker than the rest. And it's also...
Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's like the reason it hasn't been replaced is because it's still good.
How can it still be good when people are constantly carving things into it?
They're signing it, like they're not carving into it.
What are they? They've got a bit of chalk.
They're using space paint, that's vacuum paint. I'm sure there is something like that.
And it's breathtaking. This is this must have been an amazing use of the AR wall.
Oh yes,
which is just a wonderful technology that actors do not universally love because it's very confusing to look at.
I can imagine, because it's all projected for the camera's viewpoint, not for yours. Yes.
So the perspective changes. Oh, and also it's foveated, if you know what that means.
No, I don't.
It means that the area of interest is rendered with higher detail.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They do that with VR helmets.
Yeah.
Right? So the edges are like lower detail. So it's computationally a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
And you don't have that much ability to perceive, detail in your periphery anyway.
Yeah.
So the more expensive ones also track where your eyes are pointing.
Right, yes.
So they can foveate different areas.
You can actually see that. I've got a PS5 VR headset. And if you're looking at the screen, you can actually tell where the person who is wearing the helmet
is looking.
Because you can see that part is just slightly more detailed than the rest of the screen. Everything else on the screen is.
Yeah, so as you're looking around, like you see a hot spot of detail,
exactly.
and then around that, And also as the camera defocuses, it goes lower resolution because why spend the electricity on rendering?
So
they sign their names, and then they see the solar sail ship flying over.
It's like, oh, look at that! Isn't that fantastic?
And it's
Looks
beautiful.
Like we have a new ally. Yes,
because this is their arc. They're professional women, and yes, I know the joke that you always make about professional women. I'm not going to engage with it.
I don't.
No, and I don't skip the Enterprise theme tune, sure. But like they love being aboard the ship. They love the hallways, and the thing that they don't really share with the junior officers love space. Still,
yeah.
Right, it's all still an adventure, and the majesty of it is still new to them.
Yeah, I didn't count that, but I think that's a very good interpretation of the imagery.
Yeah, because that's what they see when they see this flying overhead, and they go, "Whoa, space is cool!" Actually, I forgot about that.
Yes, here we get the scene.
Gasping. I know it sounds sexual, but
well, I mean we go to the scene of Spock and. Pring lying in bed, having their virtual cigarette afterwards.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoyed being Mr. Spock for a day.
Yes.
Having met him, that is logical.
I know that's about like punching out backhand,
yes. And then it's Chapel and Ortegas who are having a little talk.
Yeah.
It's like Ortega's giving Chapel a bit of relationship advice, and it's like, yeah, why don't you try being honest and don't just. Yeah, because she's like, no, I don't want to get serious.
It would have to be the right guy,
and it turns out
she shuts up.
And like we, with the benefit of hindsight, know that she and Spock are going to get into a bit of a relationship.
I mean, this was still early on, Strange New Worlds, because we know the character of Christine Chapel from the original series, who always had this sort of longing for Spock.
Right, yes.
So seeing them in this stage of knowing each other, and like, where's that going to go? What's the history going to be like?
Looking for love in all the wrong places.
Oh my God.
And we finally made it towards the end of the episode. I had no idea we were going to be running this long. Sorry, Chief.
I know. Thank you, Chief, for joining us. And thank you, Lauren, for recommending this. Yeah, we don't get nearly enough recommendations for the modern era of Trek. We're so glad when people send them in. And yeah, what a treasure this episode was.
So, what did you think was?
So fucking cool.
For me, it's the Rongovians. Just, you've got... aliens of the week are not that common in the modern era of Star Trek as they were in the episodic 90s. Like, even DS9 didn't do them that often once they found their footing. And seeing that coming back, where the aliens of the week are used as an allegory for the theme of the episode.
Oh, yeah, that's very good point. Yeah.
So the Rongovians kind of represent the thematic harmony, I think, of this whole episode, which people remember it for the comedy. I really like it for just what an incredible feat of writing it is to have these very diverse stories that kind of mean the same thing from different points of view.
I mean, we've got basically three story arcs in this episode, and they kind of all revolve around the same thing.
Yeah, and that is also like the theme, like how do you see things through other people's point of view? Well, even the process is different for different people.
Yeah. So, very good. Mine will have to be, I think, the scene where Una and Singh are grilling the ensigns in the... it's such a like classic... It's such a classic, police interrogation scene. And they're just grilling them and like trying to get the information... Like,
and the cadets respond exactly right. Like one of them's in tears, and the other one's so charmed and happy. And they're great at it.
And it turns out that they don't admit a thing. They'll never admit to not knowing anything. When it's like, okay, what's this whole?
What the fuck is Enterprise?
Why have we never heard of this? Why is it annoys both, especially Una, that we've seen that before. Like it annoyed her that she didn't know she had a nickname. It annoys her that she doesn't know that there's something like Enterprise bingo going on. Like that's.
Because they came aboard as senior officers.
Yeah.
Right, La'an was a surprise to Kirk, and let me see, I think he brought...
Ortegas with him? With him? I don't know.
Oh, no, at least Una was already serving aboard Enterprise when we first saw it in Discovery.
Right, yes.
Right, because that was the command transfer when Pike was transferred. Yeah, I don't know. See, they may just have never been junior officers on Enterprise, and maybe other ships in the fleet don't have bingo.
No, that makes sense. Right, so.
Captain's log, supplemental.
I actually figured this out as soon as I started.
Okay.
And that is the fourth plot line that was entirely cut, which is Hemmer.
Okay.
Hammer...
It really bugs you that he wasn't there, was it?
Yeah, because, like, if you have this plotline about seeing through other people's eyes, well, he is not non-sighted, capital B blind individual that's just normal for his...
He does have eyes, though.
His species. Vestigial.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe not functioning. It's not their primary mode for sensing the world. Like the Andorians have the same antennas that they do, but the Enar, his species, use them for much more. As he points out when he's introduced, and like his other senses compensate, someone says about them, and Hammer says, "Fuck off." Yeah. They are superior. Yeah. I have superior other senses, and it's such an ableist way to talk about things.
It's kind of like the episode, between Diana and Picard in the episode where Diana loses her sense, and Picard goes like, "Oh, your other senses will compensate," and then she's like, "No, f you."
Yeah, that's hugely ableist. That's not how it works. And also there's just people. Hey, I want to achieve something. I'm going to try and achieve it. I'm going to get good at it. Through whatever. But in the case of Hammer, like, who would you pair him with? Like maybe Uhura. She also doesn't get a lot to do in this episode.
Very little, yes.
Oh wow, yeah. What if this whole time Hammer and Uhura have also done a body swap, and they haven't told anyone? So it's actually Hammer. And the reason that Uhura is sitting at the table just so quiet is because Hammer's completely wide-eyed and like, why are there so many colors?
Also,
is this what the world looks like to you
he's
people?
desperately hoping that he's not going to get called upon to do a translation. He's got no idea.
Whoa. And Uhura's doing great. I bet. Like, if Uhura transferred, like, oh, you have all these other senses. Oh, we can...
Oh my God, like, I can hear so many different nuances in all the various languages and other things that I never had any idea existed.
I can smell horny? I didn't know that's what horny smelled like.
Sure. I mean, human beings can smell horny.
Oh, I was going for a synesthesia. No, you're completely right. I was going for synesthesia.
Right, yeah.
Right, the sort of mixing of signals. Because, what would it be like to experience a sense that you haven't had before? There are some humans who've had that.
All right, mine is...
Oh, yes, we were doing the thing. What's your...
Mine is Una and Singh sitting in the mess hall with a big knobbly fruit between them.
What? Where is this going?
And they're sitting there like across from each other, and then they're cutting it open. But they're sitting there like going, okay, why is this such a bad thing? Like,
Chief,
I don't know.
Stand by.
They cut it open, and they both go, like, pull away, gagging and retching, and like now suddenly...
What did they...
You didn't see. One of the Enterprise bingos is like replicate a durian.
Oh! Wow. I haven't eaten durian yet. Oh, I did have durian-flavored ice lolly at one point.
Right. I think I've had durian-flavored boiled sweets.
Yeah.
Which was okay. It was like nothing. But yes, apparently it's a notorious, for those of you nothing to know, it's a notoriously smelly fruit. And in lots of places in Asia, there's like actually signs saying like no eating durians here.
Well,
like
because you get a drop of durian juice in your carpet. You can toss it out. You're not cleaning that. It doesn't come out. So you have durian parlors.
Right.
Usually next to laundrettes.
Apparently they smell terribly, but taste terrible, but taste quite nice.
As with many foods. And I'm really interested in trying it.
So, that leaves us with...
Next time on an all-new episode of Star Trek.
All right, let's see which clues the Chief has left for us. Oh, yes, thank you again to Lauren. Beloved, like, almost a cast member of the show at this point. Yeah. And a sage when it comes to the deeper lore of Star Trek.
Yeah, she is... like probably screaming into the podcasting device every episode when we start doing this, because she's like, I'll bet you she gets these on the first or at most the second line.
She has been stumped at some point.
Okay.
So she has sort of vociferously, it took me 3 clues this time to get it. I'm going to have to rewatch Star Trek The Next Generation another 5 times.
All right, bring it on. Or hit it on, I should say.
Hit it on, that's right.
Tamir was your great-grandmother. I'd be the last person to question your math, but aren't you missing a few generations? Sputnik was 200 years ago.
Oh, I think I have a good guess.
Okay. Time travel episode?
I think maybe Enterprise.
Okay.
Here you go.
The game is based on simple geometry. It wouldn't challenge a Vulcan child.
Yeah, this is Enterprise.
Chess again? No, geometry game, so not chess. Okay.
I'm so excited.
It sounds like the poll, yeah, so I know what you mean.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Next one.
2 Vulcans stroll into a bar, hustle a game of pool, and walk out with an armload of TV dinners.
Okay. Is this actually the episode you were just talking about?
No. Which one was I talking about?
The one with the Vulcans, the illogical Vulcans, and the ship of...
Oh, like so? I don't think so. I have high confidence that it's Carbon Creek, but I'm not completely sure yet. Let's try one more.
I need to go now. I Love Lucy is on tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a clue.
Which is also great. I Love Lucy is on tonight. L. Ball was written on the Scorch.
Yes. Oh, Lucille Ball, yes.
Who was instrumental to the production of Star Trek originally.
Because she was a big funder of the original
Yes,
series.
exactly.
Yes.
Didn't make a lot of money on it. Last clue.
This is like discovering that Neil Armstrong wasn't the first man to walk on the moon.
Okay.
Perhaps he wasn't.
It's got to be Carbon Creek.
Okay.
You haven't seen Enterprise as much as I have you? Or have you seen it all?
I think I've seen most of the first season, but I'm not sure even I've seen all of it.
Oh, listeners, if you haven't seen it, really, really go and see Carbon Creek, which is definitely what it is, unless I've got a lot of egg on my face, which we'll find out just now.
The episode is Enterprise 202, Carbon Creek.
Very good. Yes.
I'm so excited. Okay.
Excellent. So, that'll be next week then.
Thank you for listening. Do we have how do we do this? I'm sorry.
We usually, we usually reiterate a few things.
So
I don't think we've mattered our Patreon/links again yet for anybody who wants to leave a suggestion of their own, especially if it's an episode that you love more than everybody else and you'd like to tell us about it. And we would like us to talk about it.
Yep. Continue with the tradition of giving them the wrong link. It's not patreon.com/links. I don't know where that goes. It's joyoftrek.com/links, which also links to our Patreon. And we could use your help. And you could become a lemon-stealing whore. You can hear our monthly Patreon bonus episodes and see all the Jeeves. And these Jeeves are going to be excellent.
All right.
I think we're done.
Almost 2 hours, or I'm not sure how long it will run.
Chief Kyle, get us out of here.
I'm leaving Starfleet.
Energize!
We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode with your friends Kay and Kaki, production and editing by your chief engineer Greg, and music by Fox Amok. Join us next time for Carbon Creek, Enterprise 202. Visit joyoftrek.com/links to send us your recommendations, support us on Patreon, or to find us on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to The Joy of Trek, and we'll see you out there.